Hallo und herzlich willkommen zur ersten Folge der zweiten Staffel meiner Talkshow Achtstundenwoche. Die heutige Premiere ist was ganz Besonderes, denn zum ersten Mal wird es eine Talkshow in englischer Sprache geben und darüber freue ich mich besonders. Wir haben ein sehr brisantes internationales Thema und es ist so, dass ganz viele mich immer gefragt haben, kannst du mal was zur Politik bringen? Und da war ich immer so ein bisschen skeptisch, ob ich das machen soll. Und wir machen das aber jetzt so, dass wir gar nicht über die deutsche Politik sprechen werden, sondern über die US-amerikanische Politik. Ich denke mal, das ist ein sehr interessantes Thema für die meisten von euch. Hello and welcome to my first episode of the second season of my talk show Achtstundenwoche. Today we have a premiere and it's very special. For the first time the show will be in English and we are discussing a very pressing international topic. Many of you have asked me to cover politics, and today I will make this. But we will focus on foreign policy and the perspective of the international community on Germany. I'm very pleased to welcome a remarkable guest, Patrice, a young American woman who decided to leave the United States, has lived in China, and now resides in Morocco. Welcome, Patrice, and greetings from Berlin to Morocco.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Nice that we meet us here because we know us so long, but it's so long time ago when we have seen us it was in 2007. It's
Yeah.
so long ago, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited for have this conversation today with you. Okay, let's start with the first question. How are you doing right now?
I'm doing great. So let's see. I'm in Morocco, like you said, and we had about 2 months of rain, which is very unseasonable for Morocco, and now we finally have the sun back. So I moved to Africa partly for sun, so I'm happy that the weather is appropriate and correct now. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm also fine, and I'm very excited to see you and hear from you. And yeah,
Yeah.
Africa is also a topic we can speak about it. I think it's very interesting, Africa, and we can also talk especially about Morocco then. And the next question is, what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, great question. So, okay, like you mentioned, I lived in China. I also used to live in Korea, and now I'm in Morocco, and I've been in the international school scene for a while. But this year I'm leaving international teaching to help to train teachers on translanguaging and language inclusion in international schools. And also, I'm starting a company with my business partner. So it's one company, two branches. One is for training teachers, and one is for starting kids camps for kids during breaks and some in-school programs. So I'm really excited. There's a lot happening that's going to be changing this year.
Ah, okay. Then you have both. So it wasn't easy for you to make a decision. So you have the kids on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have the teachers themselves. So, okay. And I have seen a little bit on your YouTube channel, but we want to make a second part of it. So this you can see in the next episode of Achtstundenwoche. That's very nice. And so you are a teacher for foreign language, you can say, and you have a special part on intercultural communication.
So I teach homeroom to students in grade 5. So I teach reading, writing, math, science, history to that age group in English in
Mhm.
international schools. So you were saying American curriculum to students here, and it's a lot of kids from all over the world. From some from China, some from Morocco, some from Europe, from the US. It's a fun mix.
Ah, yeah, that's very fine. And you have to know also, I was also a teacher in an international school in Berlin. And I know you have so many cultures in one class that isn't easy. So you need basics on intercultural communication. There is a different type of teaching then. Also, you can say, oh, isn't so?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think when you are teaching kids, when you're teaching people really from all over the world, a big part of it is learning to communicate with each other in a really open-minded way. And I think it's something that all adults could learn from if we're going into American politics. I think learning from each other and being open-minded um, and not having and trying to avoid the xenophobia that happens if you go down the wrong path, right?
Yes, and to compare it, the education is also politics. So you can say there is much politic in it because we have different types between the schools in Germany, in the United States, in Morocco, and so on. So we have spoken about your profession today. The next question would be, and how long have you been living in Morocco?
So I've been in Morocco for 2.5 years.
What do you enjoy most about your life in Morocco?
I, what do I enjoy most about my life in Morocco? I enjoy, honestly, what I enjoy most about when I live in different places is connecting with the local culture and learning the ways of the beauty of it, right? So in Morocco, a big beauty of the culture is right now we're in Ramadan. So some of the food that they eat during Ramadan is so awesome and really very caloric and very, very addicting, the food. And also just the vocabulary that they have like around people and connecting with them on their level and the smiles that you get in Morocco when you're connecting with people. I think that's my favorite part. I also really love that besides the weather, we can have very quick getaways to Spain. So next weekend I'm going to Sevilla and they'll go to Germany next month also. So I'm excited. A
So
lot of
you're very free in your ways you do, and you like to connect to other people, and that's the interesting. We come to our main topic for today, the politics. That isn't so funny, I have to say, but it's very important to speak about it because so many people don't try to do this. But if you don't speak about it, we cannot change something. We are going to discuss American politics, especially we want to talk about Donald Trump, the president, the current president of the United States of America. We will also explore your view of Germany on or of the American people in general. And I want to know why did you and your partner decide to leave the United States?
Yeah, great question. We decided to leave for good in 2017. And that was for a lot of reasons, but and Trump had just been re elected for the first time. So that certainly didn't help. But honestly, American politics, the only way they affected me day to day is in the fact that living in the US is rigged against people who are not millionaires or don't make a lot of like at least middle upper class money. So my husband and I were in respectable jobs, but just from living life, we went more and more into debt because of the high cost of living. Rent is really high, car insurance is really high, health insurance. I don't know if you want to get into it, but it's a scam and it's extremely high and it doesn't really pay for anything. So why bother having it? But I had health problems when I was younger and I just knew that I needed to I needed to have good health insurance, and it was too expensive to get health insurance that really paid for anything. I think that was a big part of it. The other part is the, when I used to be really, really well aware of what was happening politically in the US. And it was interesting to know from a distance. I'm not as well aware anymore because it's just gotten so horrifying that I haven't paid attention as much as I used to. But when you're in it, it's way, way more depressing. And I think a lot of Americans feel that way right now, is they're inside while it's happening and they try to make a change. But when you're just one person in a country of 400 million, 350 million people, you feel quite powerless, and you feel like no matter what you do, the people who are millionaires and billionaires and have big corporations, they will always win. It's pretty hopeless.
Okay, to sum this, the first point is that, yeah, the politics don't make much for the poor people. They are more for the millionaires, you think, and you have also problems with the health system in the United States. We Germans know this about this problem especially, and then you say it's different when you are not in the United States, but when you live there, that's quite different. So you see this every day. You are involved in everything. It's a very big country, you said. Is there something especially where you say there is something quite more where you think, okay, that was another point I haven't mentioned before?
No, that was it. And I think, yeah, basically just the sense of hopelessness. Like you don't feel like it's going to get better. Like before Trump was elected, I phone banked for Bernie Sanders. I was a big Sanders fan, and I marched it was in a march for Bernie, and I made phone calls like encouraging people to vote for him. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a two-party system. One guy's gonna win.
That's a big point. We will also talk about this, about the elections, about the system, of politics, and we want to also speak about the time before the second election of Donald Trump, about Joe Biden, of course. How do you perceive the American society today compared to when you left, and what changes have you noticed over the past decade?
So I would say that word from the ground, from my family who lives there, says that things have gotten even more polarized than they were before, which they were quite polarized before. It's not really, I mean, right now, what's been happening in Minneapolis is very open and horrifying. But when your day-to-day interactions, it's not as much people openly fighting with each other. It's more little passive aggressive things. Like car culture is big in the US, so you might have a bumper sticker with the person that you support politically. And then somebody might be more aggressive on the road if they disagree with you. Or little passive aggressive things that people might say in daily conversation. I also think that they tend to just avoid conflict by staying in their own echo chambers. And those who exit the echo chamber exit their bubble, right? There's a lot of pushback. Disagreement has just become more intense. On the other hand, I think people are starting to wake up and see just how unhealthy the culture has become.
So you speak about the problem of polarization. We have it in the whole world. You can recognize this. And you have also told that your family still lives in the United States, so you get the first information from them. And then you say about trouble, violence. We have also the problem about the border to Mexico. We have also the topic about the Antarctic. Actually, he want to be the man of the piece. He wants to get a very special prize. We know that he didn't get him, but now he wants to make, you can say, actually, it could be a war if he really will do this next step with the Antarctic. So it's a very global topic we have. So we have also, and that is something where we are very afraid of, we Germans, that we are afraid to get more distance to the United States, because in the former times, in the past times, it was so that we have a very good relationship to the United States, and now it's so we have the motto America first, you know, and but actually we want to deal as European people with the United States, and it's so important. Do you keep following American politics, or have you decided at some point to switch off and not follow it anymore?
You know, the time that I did decide to switch off. I don't follow it, but it's unavoidable in a lot of ways, right? It's everywhere. When I decided to switch off is when I was living in China, and I was in China during all of COVID, and things were really intense, and there was a lot of controls, and I had a 24-hour PCR test every day during 2022. And I realized, but when I was trying to follow American politics, and I realized none of it was about actual things that were happening. I don't know. I realized I care more about global what's happening globally. And I didn't want just the news about infighting, because I think a lot of American politics is just people trying to distract from the real problem, which is corruption in the government. It's always about corruption. Right now, it's also about the Epstein files. So, and distracting from that. But all of this infighting and like Republicans versus Democrats, it's all a show to distract people from the fact that the problem is that they're all being paid off in different ways from different companies, and they're trying to push the priorities of those companies rather than the interests of the American people, or really, you know, the world, because there are a lot of problems in the world. I work at a school that's an international school, like I said, and we lost a lot of students last year because their parents worked for USAID, which is a great source of soft power from the US. And it does really amazing things like vaccine programs worldwide, and just got shut down because it's not financially worth it for the Trump administration, right?
So a very big point you have mentioned was the pandemic in China, and the very strict rules. When you compare it to Germany, it's very quite different. Here it's more free, and I cannot really understand how it could be when you are really in this situation in this country at this moment, because I know a little bit about this country because I have also lived there for 1 year in China. And that would be very hard, I think. And this one part on you see that we have the perspective, that you have a perspective not only to the United States, and on your new perspective, you can say is to show more in a global way. And you can do this because you have lived in so much countries. Then it's very easier for you to compare it and to see how the systems really work.
Yeah, and I think also I mentioned I was sick when I was younger. I went to the hospital in Germany, and I went to the hospital in Spain when I was studying there, and I just remember having that comparison, and like just and knowing very young, going to the hospital in different countries, including the US, seeing, you know, it doesn't have to be the way it is. It doesn't have to be as complicated as it is. And the hospital in that case is also a metaphor for the way systems are run. Like I think the German parliamentary system with the different parties. And I know that it's not perfect, but at least there's more representation instead of, okay, well, your voice doesn't count now. And there's a lot of different ways of doing things that are not perfect, but work better than they do in the US. And it's my global perspective.
I know in China you cannot go to a doctor outside of a hospital. So that's not possible because we have only hospitals there and nothing else.
Yeah,
in Germany,
exactly.
we have another system. First, you go to the normal doctor, yeah, and then you can go to hospital. So, and it's much cheaper for us in Germany than in the United States, of course. No, it's also very complicated when you are ill. But we have also a change management in Germany at the moment because we have so many hospitals they have to close because it's not very practiced there. We have not enough doctors with special topics, and it's easier to have more personnel in one hospital than to have it at many small one. But we have not all of the people agree to them to this idea. We have also the problem that we have not enough medical people. So we need people from abroad. We need people from other countries.
Yeah.
Very interesting for our German people is this question: how do Americans generally perceive Germany? Has this changed since you left the US?
Oh, Renee, I have bad news. Americans are so self-absorbed. They hardly know that the rest of the world exists. But I will say the general impression I get of that Americans have has shifted over the years. When I was younger, much younger, probably 20 years ago, that's when Germany started. Was that when there was the World Cup in Germany?
Yeah, 2006.
Yes. Oh yeah, 20 years ago. Oh.
Yeah.
Germany
But
had.
we have one in 2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the one in 2006.
In 2006, it was in Germany, of course, and in 2014, we were the winners. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, before the World Cup in 2006, I think there was still like very annoyingly like an association of Germany with World War II and Nazis, right? And it's terrible, and I hate to say it because I think Germany has made a lot of efforts to change that. But in 2006, Germany was on the world stage again for the first time, really since the Berlin Wall. And then I think that's when the attitudes toward Germany started to shift and people started to say, oh, that's like a really peaceful place and they're really good at soccer and then over time Angela Merkel like welcomed in all the refugees from the Syrian war, and I think there was also like a lot of positivity around that because many Americans were paying attention to the refugee crisis. And so I think that because I spent time in Germany and I have connections to Germany, I know that there has been a bit of a pendulum swing to a more conservative position in Germany, but I still think that Germany is perceived by Americans as being quite liberal and financially responsible or fiscally responsible, I think you should say, for countries. And I think that Germans are perceived as smart, very precise, and a little weird, like super artistic, like weirdly artistic, like not afraid and outspoken, very bold.
So you have said that the Germans are very effort, but it is not so on the other side. The situation when we had the World Cup in Germany, it was quite different to the situation now. But you said you have lived in Dresden, and this is very hard, I think, for foreign people So I don't know if you have also lived in other parts of Germany or only in Dresden, or maybe you have seen other cities in Germany so that
Yeah.
you know the difference.
Oh, yeah. And I think I was just talking to a German friend about this last night. So it's funny. She said, I told her, I studied in Dresden almost 20 years ago. And she said, that must have been like the difference between the former East and West was much stronger then, even more like much stronger than it is now, but there's still a big difference. And I said, yeah, I remember having the feeling that people in the East, the former East, were, I got the feeling from them like they got the short end of the stick. Like it wasn't fair what their situation was. And they were not trying to make up for it, but they were trying to show, we're just as good as the West in some ways.
So many people have lost their jobs. And today we have also the problem that we have more people without a job in the east part than in the west part of Germany. We have not so many people who lived in the east part. We have more people who lived in the west part. But also here we have to make the difference, because in North Rhine-Westphalia, maybe Cologne, we have Gelsenkirchen and we have Oberhausen, and there we have also big problems with violence, racism, and the focus that we have a city where you find so much rubbish, where you have so many empty stores, where you have no supermarket. So we have not only the problems in the east, we have it also now in the west part of Germany. For me, it's very important that we come together again and that more people will be happier.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can imagine there wasn't a lot of research into how this change is going to affect people psychologically in 1991, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just looking back 35 years later, like, oops.
Maybe you know David Hasselhoff, and David Hasselhoff thinks that he was the part that we have now one country, because he have made a song looking for freedom. Maybe you know this. And he was at the German border at this time, 1989. And you can also see it on YouTube videos, and that's very funny that he really thinks this. And but there at this moment we have a society where we're happy, and so that the people were in a good feeling. And this is this is over this time. You are actually from North Carolina, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I grew up in East Tennessee. My family's from like the Northeast area, but we moved out to Tennessee when I was 6, and then I went to university in North Carolina. Yeah.
And we have also different situations now at the universities, because normally it was so, or the past it was so, that the students there were I think more on the side of the Democrats, maybe, yeah. And now we have also a change there. I have recognized this because in the German news, and we also know that we have in New York a quite different situation, maybe to the poor areas of the United States.
I didn't know that. I do know that there's a lot of money invested, obviously, in trying to convert college students into Republicans, right? So the fact that it's working is honestly not surprising, or it's disappointing, but not surprising, like so many things in the US. But with poor people, I can totally see it, because what happens when you remove finances from the public education system? You get a dumb population. And that is exactly what happened in the US. As a teacher, I've been getting news and reels saying, that reading abilities, critical thinking skills have decreased a lot in the last 20 years. And that's not an accident, I think. It's
critical thinking isn't only very bad. You can see it also that the people make more thoughts on things, because when you have good arguments and you make it in a very friendly way, that is something else than to be a bad criticism. And
constructive
yeah.
criticism, exactly. Yeah.
I'm very excited of your answer now. What are your thoughts when Donald Trump won his second term? How did you feel at that moment?
Oh, honestly, I was really surprised because I'm in a bubble and my bubble was saying Kamala Harris was going to win. I was surprised, disappointed, and really, really glad that I don't live there.
So you thought that Kamala Harris will make this election, and do you think that it could be because of Joe Biden, because he hasn't made this way too late free for Kamala Harris, so that it was not time to really say who is Kamala Harris?
Yes, I think so. I think that Joe Biden said when he first became president that he wasn't going to stay president for more than 4 years. And then at some point he became more senile and he said he decided that he was going to run again. And then he decided because of that, he didn't allow time for people to get to know other candidates and decide, who might be the best candidate to defeat the Republican candidate. And it was lastminute.com from Kamala Harris. And I think part of it was she didn't have enough time to campaign, but another reason is because she did a terrible job campaigning. I thought that, we've all done Trump before. We know that he won't win because everybody knows how bad he is. But I do see why she lost, and it's because she didn't connect with people on a human level. She only connected with them saying, like, oh, this person supports me, and this person, all of these rich people think I'm great, but
Mhm.
Americans don't want Americans, like I mentioned, how difficult it is just to get by in the US.
Mhm.
And they need a politician who says, I see that health insurance is not affordable, and I see that a house is not affordable, and it's very difficult to make a living, save anything, enjoy your life, and get by, right? And so they need somebody who is out there speaking that language. But instead, Kamala Harris was endorsed by major news publications and other millionaires and billionaires, and that's not the average that's
Mhm.
not the average person.
Donald Trump, to my mind, he has a very good rhetoric. So that we can also say something positive on him. And but I see a very similar connection to the situation of Bill Clinton, his wife, Hillary Clinton. She's not a person who can really good connect to other people, and she only use a language, a very high language level, and not the simple one like Donald Trump used. And when you want to connect quite more people, then is this a better strategy, I think. And he also say what he will make better for the American people, especially at very poor areas. And but now we can also see before the elections, they say, oh, Donald Trump is the better one of these candidates. But now they see, oh, actually, it's before he comes to his second term, the situation was better. Do you also recognize this, that there is a change of meaning in the people actually who like Donald Trump?
A change of meaning. I think you're right that that Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, they're both pretty bad at connecting with people on a human level. And you said Donald Trump, He brings down the vocabulary to like a third grade level or lower in his whenever he speaks, so people understand him. Like I said, you have a population of people who are not very educated, so they connect better with somebody who isn't educated, doesn't sound educated also, who I think he is actually he I think he's senile and insane now, but I do think that he used to be maybe a smart person who was pretty strategic. Now he's just horrifying. But I remember I started getting really interested in politics during the George Bush era. And and people said George W. Bush is the kind of guy that you can have a beer with. And I think that's exactly the same. Even though Donald Trump doesn't drink, people feel that way about him too. Like he's just a normal guy's guy.
So you made a comparison to George W. Bush, and we had also his father at this position before. We make go on with Donald Trump.
Sure.
Have you lost friendships because of political differences, especially with people who supported Trump?
I think that hasn't happened to me because the only friendships that I might have had with people who support Donald Trump, they would be online, people that I used to know from when I lived in the US. And Facebook loves an echo chamber, so I don't have to connect with those people. I do have a friend who is a Republican, and I knew that because when we were living in Korea and Obama got reelected, all of our friends in the expat community, we were all like, "Yeah, go Obama!" And my Republican friend, he had a few beers, and he told me and my husband, like, I would have voted for Mitt Romney, or I again and again, but I didn't lose that friendship because because somebody that we connect on a different level with. But no, I haven't lost any friendships. I think I'm lucky that that I live in a place where the people who are my friends, we're all here for similar reasons. And a lot of it is like we don't want to be a part of what's happening in the US right now. We feel powerless to make a change too.
I'm happy to hear that you haven't lost them. And but what do you think when you come into talks with people who support him? What's the best way then to bring arguments so that you say, I want to have them on my side, or do you think it's better only to listen to them?
I love that question. I think that it's good to stay open and to listen to them. And then you also leave the floor open for being able to tie their politics when something negative happens. So I say this because last year, some of my Moroccan students, they were like, Donald Trump, they were pro Donald Trump because their families were pro Donald Trump, because their families were racist and didn't want a black woman to win to become the president of the United States. Not that it matters, they're Moroccan because they can't vote, right? Later in the year, one of their friends in my class had to leave and wasn't allowed to stay in Morocco because his dad worked for USAID. And I said, those of you who really wanted Donald Trump to win the election, just know this is a direct result of him being elected. Your friend has to leave and cannot stay in Morocco because of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's president. So if I hadn't had conversations with them earlier where they are enthusiastically telling me their ideas, then I wouldn't have been able to like have them relaxed when I talked about the result, them getting what they wanted, right?
That's very hard for these students, and there you see that education has also something to do with politics in this special way. but it's a pity because it has to do with the students, with young people.
Right, right.
See, we have also talked a little bit about this, but you can say something more on it. How do you see the US-Germany political relationship today, and what do you think could improve the collaboration in the future? Because to my mind, it has to be better. We have had a good relationship to Obama, to Clinton, to Joe Biden, but now we have not a partner where we can sure that if we have problems, that we can get support of the United States, of Donald Trump. And we live in a time where we need it more than in the past now. So what do you think about this? Maybe how we have to speak with Donald Trump as Germans, and so that we get a better collaboration with him.
I think I agree. It's vital to have strong relations between the US and Germany. I think that it's not difficult to impress or please Donald Trump. He just wants to be treated like a king. And when it comes to direct contact with him, making sure that he feels like a special boy, I think that's all he really wants. But in terms of long-term relationship, I know I speak for a lot of Americans when I say like Entschuldigung, like we are so embarrassed, and I think that and people want to change, and I think there is a general sense in the country of like wanting good things to happen in the world. I think the only thing I can say is assume positive intention from the American people, and know that the American people are not Donald Trump.
Okay. That's good. I think it's a good thing we can use, that we not only think about Donald Trump itself, so that we see more the American people, the American society, because they have different ways to deal with other countries, or they have other ideas. That's a very good point. To my mind, it's often so we have this situation and we cannot change them by ourselves. So he is actually is a talk master. We know he has he's an entertainer. So actually we can say we could use this way to say, okay, then we are a little bit more open to also make something more entertainment, so that we get a connection to him. And when you see the German elections and you compare it to the American one, then you see that it is not like a TV show, like television in Germany, as we have it in the United States, where you think, okay, that could be also comedy.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's actually one of my strategies in life, is laugh so you don't cry, right? Things can get really dark. And that's how I felt in China. Eventually, the conclusion I had to come to was, the Chinese people are not the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and it was hard for me living in it, but it's important to separate those two, because Chinese people, they're kind and peaceful, and they want good things to happen, and the CCP can be a totally different machine that causes a lot of destruction. It's the same in the US. I think overall people are pretty kind and warm and welcoming, and they want peace. They might be uneducated, but I think they're usually pretty kind. And then you have Trump and the US government that's just concerned with how, like, their fifth house and their third yacht, and just cause destruction in order to get it.
I would say in general, we have more kind people, and it's so that the problem is that the very loud people, they have more chances to be loud and to use the very aggressive way, but also not so that they only want to make powerful things, that we have so many of them who actually they wish a better world.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I have told you about what could be positive at Donald Trump, and I say, okay, he's a good entertainer, he is a showmaster. And this is the next question. Do you see any positive aspects of Donald Trump's leadership, either from his first or second term?
Oh, yeah, really making me dig deep here. Any positives? Man, when Donald Trump got COVID, I got so excited. I was like, yes, finally. Okay, positives.
It's not over COVID, because I also mentioned that we have this term of period or this, or then we have another form of coronavirus. So, but not in this way. We had it in 2000, from 2020 till maybe 2022. It was, I think.
Yeah, yeah, well. Okay, so positive things. Come on.
Yeah.
Something about Donald Trump. Well, I was recently on a cross-continental flight and I saw a movie. This one of the reasons why I say like I think he wasn't a stupid guy. Maybe he is now, but did you see this movie? It's a biopic following him from the 80s until like 2000 something, 2010, before he ran for president. And I think that he he really knows how to connect with people. He does have a lot of charisma. And he also is so bold and he's so good at deciding his own reality, and very delusional about it, that it happens. And everybody around him is like, I can't believe that just happened. But he knows what he wants and he doesn't stop, and he never stops. He gets it and he keeps going and keeps it going. So it's something to be said for people who are trying to accomplish something in their life, right? Is you just live in that reality until your external reality reflects your internal reality.
So his advantage is that he knows what can happen in future, so that he can make good plans to see, when I will make this and this, then I will get to this aim. So in this way, you can say.
I think he doesn't have a plan. He just acts like that's already the truth, right? Like he makes decisions as if that truth already exists. And
There's
then
only this way and not another way, and this is right, and this is the right position, and there is nothing else. Because very funny is, and I haven't recognized this from the other presidents of the United States, that he has his papers on his table, and then he make his signature under it. That was very new for us in Germany, that he can make this. In German Sekretärin, that we have a page and you make a signature, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And
he's doing it's called executive order, where he's like, this is the law now, this is the law now, this is the law now, instead of going through the normal procedure.
yeah.
Usually executive order is quite rare with presidents, but Donald Trump like immediately set a record for the number of executive orders. Yeah, that's true.
And now we come to the intercultural part. What difference have you noticed living in the US, China, and now Morocco, maybe also other countries, in terms of culture and society?
The differences between living in the US versus living in other cultures.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest part when I leave the US is this sense of number one, collectivism. There's a lot more the US is one of the most individualistic societies in the world. In Germany, the collectivism is expressed in like this responsibility to take care of the environment. And in China, there's just a collectivism built into the culture. You see it in group dances and like harmony, and like people aren't competitive with each other. And in Spain, it's like everybody, nobody wants to stand out really. Like you want to be unique, but you want to be unique with within your own group. And in Morocco as well, there's this collectivism, like social pressure to do what everybody else is doing. Like Ramadan, I know Moroccans who don't fast during Ramadan, but they don't talk about it, and they still at least pretend to fast. They definitely don't tell anybody that they don't fast during Ramadan. So I think that's the biggest thing. The other thing that is the biggest difference between living in the US and in living outside of the US, I think, is people are really excited to go outside of the US. In the US, they stay inside a lot more.
Okay, thank you. The last question is, how do you perceive social media in the US given the lower level of regulation compared to other countries?
Ooh, I think that's a great question. And I think there's also a lot, like the data is coming out about it, right? It's been very detrimental to young people. Um, and I'm lucky that I got social media that the biggest time in social media was after my prefrontal cortex had already been developed in my brain. It's very problematic in the US. I think that students or kids and teens are very, very susceptible to the judgment and comparing themselves to others because social media has been so prevalent. It's been a big, big problem. I know that there are more regulations that have come out, especially in other countries, and the US is trying to do it too. They just passed a law or I think they passed the law about needing to be at least 13 years old to be on social media, but it's very easy to lie about that. So yeah, we're only starting to see the effects of it. Test scores have been terrible because we have these kids, this dopamine seeking behavior just ingraining itself in the population. So it's wild.
It's very important because Facebook or Instagram, that all comes from the United States, TikTok from China. And in Germany, we want to have more regulation. And now they will discuss to forbid it till students are 14 years old. And when you see the consequences of this, they don't know how to deal with this media. So there are very big points. It's also a topic, hate speech.
And I will say, as I've been teaching fifth grade for a few years now, and this group of fifth graders is the happiest group of fifth graders I've ever had. And that's because most of their parents have say either you're not allowed on the internet or you have very, very strict rules around what you're allowed to do online. And I think that's just a testament. They're allowed to be kids if they don't have access to.
Good. Thank you, Patrice.
Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting discussion we have, a very interesting talk. And then we see us in the second season when we will speak about the YouTube channel of Patrice. What's his name?
It's the translanguaging teacher.
Thank you. Okay. Then we see us to this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.